Welcome everyone to this afternoon session for Illinois Techs from Career Services. This is an info session, and I'd like to stipulate that it is going to be an interactive info session based on the email that BJ had sent out. So without further delay, I'm just going to go to presentation mode, and we'll make introductions as we go along. So my name is Bernie Floresca, and we are going to be talking about this mobile SMS-based course that I created for the last career fair that IIT had actually last February. And I know that one is coming up very shortly, and I thought that it was very timely that the students have this information that I created. Just a little background information. I actually am a graduate of Illinois Tech, so I'm an alumnus of Illinois Tech. So welcome to everybody who joined us and to the folks who are just watching this on recording much later. So I wasn't kidding about this being an interactive session. Can I get a volunteer for somebody to unmute and say, yes, I'd like to volunteer to kind of like assist me in watching the chat box so that I make sure that I'm not missing anybody saying anything. So do we have a volunteer or volunteers for somebody to monitor the chat?
Yeah, we have volunteer.
Beautiful. And who was that, please?
Pranav Madan.
Oh, thanks, Crab.
My pleasure.
So let me know as you're seeing people typing in their major and the year they graduated or are expecting to graduate. Please feel free to read it out as you see them. Nobody?
Yeah. Alexander Myers, chemistry, May 2023. Shruti Mahajan, Mahajan, marketing analytics.
Yeah, I guess 22, very good. Thank you. Anybody else? 2023, awesome, awesome. So it looks like everybody's students so far.
And for me, it's computer engineering and artificial intelligence, May 2025.
Thanks, Pranav. Anybody else? The reason I'm asking is I want to tailor this to the information of folks who are on this call. Number one, I acknowledge you for attending this live session with me that was being recorded. Obviously, I'm going to tailor this information to you guys who took the time to spend this session with me live. So anybody else catch up? And Pranav, thank you again for volunteering to catch the information and watching the chat box for me.
Of course.
So this is where I want to hear people go off their mics and unmute. When you read the announcement from BJ that was sent to your emails, I'm assuming that's why you folks are here, or you probably heard it from a friend. I just want to hear what the general expectations are of the title, the mobile-based course, Career Fair Optimized. That much? If there's none, I guess there's none. So I'm going to go to the housekeeping rules. I just want you guys to sit back and relax as I give you information about Career Fair Optimized. I really just want to have a conversation with you guys. And the reason I said it was interactive was I really wanted to tailor this session to your guys' needs. And then we were going to take it there because obviously I've been in classes myself where I sit and the professor is just talking, talking, talking. You guys are probably used to that. This isn't going to be one of those sessions. I want it to be more interactive so that I could tailor this specific session to you guys so that you get the most out of Career Fair Optimized. Any questions or comments before I proceed?
Uh, Hello. Sorry, I was
Hi.
just trying to set up the background. I actually came with the expectation that I've been to fairs before, and somehow I felt that there were quite some companies that do not have the position that I'm looking for.
Okay.
And I also did visit a career fair, but there were too many companies, and it was hard to kind of manage through all of them and make sure that I'm getting something out of it, or sort of we are all there to look for jobs. But uh,
Absolutely.
uh, I think what I'm looking at is a path or a way on how to navigate through a career fair and still make sure that you get back something, and not like feel that, oh, this wasn't helpful or useful in any way. So maybe like I think I'm looking for what can we do in the limited time that we have, how to maybe engage in conversations and all of that.
That's awesome. That's an awesome share because you're talking about what I heard you say was that there are limitations to the career fairs. Sometimes there's more than you could get there. You can't possibly reach all of them. They're not necessarily the people that you're looking for. These are very, very valid concerns and experiences that you've had. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you're definitely in the right place.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody else? All right, I was just kind of buying time going to my next slide. So first of all, I'd like to apologize because I didn't set up dual monitors. So if you notice, I'm having to go back from my presentation versus just looking at another screen and having to split up before the presentation. So please bear with me. I just go back and forth with this information. So can you guys see my screen right now? Please verbal, because I can't see anything that's written in the chat right now.
Not
It's
yet.
not showing.
You can't see it?
No.
Thank you for that feedback. How about now?
I can see it now.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love it because I can start feeling the energy of you guys. Like I said, it's one thing to just have a one-way presentation where the person on the other side is doing the talking, talking, talking. But if you guys notice from the get-go, I wanted to say that this was going to be an interactive session so that you guys get the most out of this. So I got these set up for you guys. And I actually posted this in the Illinois Tech Career Services group. So while I'm at it, if you notice this LinkedIn group that you have, it was in the email. And then for the guys who found it, that's how they requested. Notice that it's saying that there are 8 members right now. And this piece of information that I'm reading right now, I already shared in that group. And I'd like to call your attention to what Adit kind of like said. Adit said in his post a day ago, he's saying that mentors are overrated. He said, I've seen a lot of friends or peers aged 16 to 25. I'm assuming most of the people on this call right now fall within that group. Chase mentors was his point. And instead, he said, this will help you more by far. And he's suggesting that peer groups do it. So when I came to that slide that said this was all about networking, I want to strengthen that premise that peer groups is kind of like, that's kind of like why students have study groups to begin with, because there's something to be said about people going through the same experience and then kind of like sharing those experiences together. So you'll see the application of this as we move forward. Adit is saying that it's better to learn from peers that are 2 years ahead of you or even 1 year ahead of you than experts who are 20 years ahead of you. And he's got a very valid point. I see it from both sides of the coin. I can see his point, but from the person who's kind of like been in that group that's kind of like way ahead, I have two perspectives. But I appreciate what he's saying in that the reasons you want to network and have business relationship with your peers is that number one, they're more relatable. They've experienced what we're talking about more recently. Their strategies and their ideas are adapted to the current situation, and they have more time, so to speak, to help. That's kind of, I would say that you guys can look at that when you go to the group for that. But let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to stop sharing and let's hear some opinions from the group as to what they think of what I just shared from the perspective of creating business relationships with your peers. Please unmute if you had something to say. Nobody has anything to share? I like to have fun in my classes. I'm considering this one of my classes. So what happens if I don't move forward, if nobody shares?
I'm just trying to understand what student just mentioned. It makes sense like, on one aspect, you can connect with persons around you because they have definitely much different idea of how to run business versus mentors who are already decades, if not more, of experience.
Yeah.
As they already have it. So you can have a mentor. That mentor will primarily use his background and his perspective that sometimes may not go follow with yours, but
Yes.
you want to follow him as a mentor because, oh, he achieved success, I want the same thing. But at the
Yes.
same time, that you may know more about using technology you have right now with you, which your mentor might still use traditional factors that have been working for decades. So
Very good.
finding mentors that are like much more younger around your group are more likely to be similarly minded to you, and that combo can get you more to use more ideas that are as of now rather than from the past.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Alexander. So to your point, I can see from what you shared that you're seeing it from both sides of the coin. Mentors, you want to run after them because of the experience that we're sharing with you, but you also saw the point of Adit in his share in that people are just going through the experience right now. So that experience is very relevant from the moving forward. So thank you, Alexander. Any other shares from that perspective?
I would have to second what Alexander said. Because the mentor is not
Okay,
going to be,
great.
yeah, because the mentor is going to be looking at it from the purpose of, well, a mentor, someone who's like far older and more experienced as compared to someone who's 2 years older than you and still has some of the experience of a mentor and at the same time has a mentality not too different from you. So
Yes.
if a mentor is
And
saying,
absolutely.
don't do X, it might be harder to come across than if an older peer were saying, because the older peer is one, more relatable, and two, they're more up to date with the current state, the economy, and everything than somebody 20 who's been at it for like 20 or 40 years older. Because their environment, their work environment was way different from what it would be now. So
Yes. And by the way, I'm catching a thread of thought from both Alexander and Pranav. When you say mentor, I heard you guys going to somebody who could be much, much older. You guys don't forget the fact that somebody who's just a year older than you or just happened to have been in industry, just say last year, could also be a mentor. They don't have to be years way ahead of you. So I just noticed that in the way you guys were speaking about it. A mentor is somebody who's just been through the experiences that you want to go through and kind of like knows a tad more than you. So that could be either 1 year or even a few months ahead or years ahead of you. Does it make sense?
yeah,
Awesome. So here's the
Okay.
next thing that I want to do with networking. So when you go to, I'm going to have to share again so that you guys see what I'm doing. If you guys don't see what I'm doing, I'm just going to say the word share for the purposes of our conversation. And when I say share and you guys aren't seeing what I'm talking about, please let me know, okay? Because I could obviously space out doing 10 million things at the same time. When you guys go to berniefloresca.com, it actually goes to my LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to start you guys. This is actually part of what I'm trying to impart with you guys in that I'm more of a hands-on guy. And this Career Fair Optimized is going to be a hands-on workshop for you guys. So notice how I am grabbing the URL of my LinkedIn. I'm copying it and I'm now putting it in the chat box. I want participants on the call to do the same exact thing. And then this is going to be in the transcript of this call. So I want people to start networking with each other because I really want to get you guys in the habit of what we're doing. And this will make more sense as we move along. So I'm going to wait until a few more people put in their LinkedIn URLs. Thank you, Alexandra. While folks are doing that, take a look at my screen. The other way to do what I'm just talking about right now is once you've requested to be part of this Illinois Tech Career Services group, notice that on the right-hand side, let me see the notifications. Is somebody else, any other people requested? Irina just made a request. I'm approving it right now. And Angela, you guys are both in. So if we go to the actual group and I do a refresh on the group, you will notice on the top right that it shows you all the members that you have. Click see all. And voila. Feel free. I'm making it okay for this group to network with everybody else who's here because we're definitely stronger as a team versus an individual moving forward with both our studies and job search. Any comments on what I just shared?
Hello, Bernie. I just had a question. I somehow missed out the link to this group. Would you be able to share it in the chat?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. So you see what I'm talking about, that we're stronger as a team? Somebody just pointed that out. So thank you. And let me put that in the chat. So who was that who was speaking, please?
Shruti.
Hi, Shruti. Thank you so much.
Hello.
And there you have it in the chat, the group link. So am I still sharing? Namita, if you could please go on mute. Namita. Thank you. So I just shared the screen to here's the other thing that I want to point out with this specific slide. Okay. I'm not going to go into presentation mode because it kind of like kills the back and forth. Notice how I have networking in quotes. I had a realization about 2 or 3 months ago that whenever people talk about networking, it conjures up various meanings whereby it loses what networking is all about. It's truly about building business relationships. Networking isn't just collecting people. Like I was just suggesting earlier, people were sharing their LinkedIn URLs. The idea is not to just collect people, but you're actually collecting so that you build some sort of business relationship. So you guys in this particular call, or even the people who will be taking this class, have a background of relatedness already. So that alone, this experience of you going through this info session kind of like binds you together. So that is the basis of this specific business relationship. And then we'll talk some more about that as we move forward. So whenever you hear me talk about networking, I'm really referring to the business relationship aspect. And when you hear me talk about business relationship, I'm really referring to what is known as networking. Comments on what I just shared? No comments? All right. So were there any folks in this call right now who attended the career fairs in February or March? So Sagar says nope. Anybody else? I want to get a feel of who's on this call who actually attended or didn't.
I didn't.
I didn't.
Okay. So it sounds like majority did not. Is that a correct assessment? Unless you say yes, you attended, I'm assuming majority of these 10 participants on this call, 9 actually, because I'm the 10th, haven't gone. So here's my next question. Are you guys planning on attending the June career fair? Let me see yeses in the chat or nos. And if your answer is no, don't be shy. It would be good to know that as well, because what I'm sharing with you today, this info session about Career Fair Optimized, is actually going to help you whether you attend the career fair or not. Alexander, not sure. Farah says yes, they're attending. Awesome, awesome. So I'm seeing people across the board. Not exactly. What does that mean, Sagar?
I've just completed my first semester, so I wouldn't be eligible. I don't know, like I can just attend, then get to know what all the profiles or something, and that sort of stuff.
Very good. I'm glad you said that this was not exactly what you were talking about, and I appreciate that you're kind of like a newer student, so to speak. So actually, you come in at a very good spot, Sagar, because most people, they're kind of like doing career fairs towards their senior year when they're about ready to graduate. I would like to assert that you're in a better spot because you're getting a feel of all this job search way before you need it. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So absolutely, for the first time, maybe just go watch on the periphery. And then if I were you, knowing what I know now, having gone through this, I would dress up like I was one of the seniors and then just practice, if at all. So I think you're in a great spot. And thank you for sharing your not exactly comment, Sagar. Any others? Okay, we kind
I
of
have a
covered.
question.
Yes, sir.
Was there already a list published about what company is going to be attending the career fair in June?
It's the week before. I'm sure BJ has that list. So if I were you, I would look at what they've been sending out in Handshake or through your emails, because I know
Okay.
way ahead they have the information of those companies. So very good question, Alexander. Other questions or comments? All right, so I'm going to share the screen again. We already showed that. I don't have any people who attended it. I was going to ask them to share their information with me, but they don't have it. I'd like to share this, and I want you to turn them up. I created this video, let's see, 9 months ago, actually. But let me just share that specific one. Hang on. I want to share the sound. So share screen. And I want to share the system audio. So let's talk about a LinkedIn profile akin to a career fair table. The usual career fair has tables with various companies and their representatives who may be HR people, hiring managers, or company employees. In the virtual world, each of those people may have a LinkedIn profile. So, what if you start a conversation through online messages, just like you would start talking to someone at a career table? Hear me out. Of course, the experience is not the same, and one could see this as more tedious, but if used effectively, it can go farther than the initial face-to-face conversation at a career fair. Are light bulbs going on for you? What questions do you have for me? Today's 1 minute. What did you get out of that video?
I enjoyed the light bulb aspect you got at the end. It's like um we know that people can prefer one-to-one experience at the table, but like even though we live in the new technology, there are obviously still new ways to connect with people. And although LinkedIn, has been a way to connect as of now, what can we do more than just send an invitation? Than
Beautiful,
that.
Alexander. It's like I paid you to say what you just said. Thank you for that share. Great sharing. Others? Who was that who shared earlier? The lady who shared that she's been to career fairs and there's too many of them, or not, they're not exactly who she was looking for. Who was that who shared earlier?
It was me, Shruti.
Oh, that was Shruti as well. So
Yes.
Shruti, from the standpoint of what I'm talking about career fairs earlier, do you kind of
Mhm.
like relate based on what you shared with me earlier as to how we could actually overcome whatever barriers are in the physical career fair? Are you making that
Definitely.
connection?
Yes, of course. I think it's great if we actually get to meet in person. I think there are more chances of people remembering you. Uh, there is obviously you kind of break the whole barrier of doing everything virtually. That I think makes the other person also want to listen and take more interest in you rather than just meeting virtually. I think it's still very, it's still, I mean, we can work with it, but it's still a gap.
Yes.
So definitely meeting physically in person puts you like, I think 10 steps ahead in the whole process.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Shruti. And you made some very valid points. And like you shared earlier, these are some of the limitations of career fairs. And the micro course that I created, Career Fair Optimized, though it starts with the phrase career fair, actually all these actions can be applied to your job search in general. And all I'm doing is using the career fair as a backdrop to the information that I'm sharing with you. Thank you. Thank you, Shruti. Any others have any comments on that video that I shared? By the way, that's a preview to one of the videos that you will see in the micro course. Other shares? All right. If there are no shares, let's see your answer to this. Unmute. I'm going to ask the first box earlier. For the folks who've had experience, job search, is it simple? How many people say it's simple? Please unmute and let me know. Nobody says it's simple? Okay. I'll go to the second box. Job search. Is it easy?
No.
Definitely not easy. I totally agree with you. So I just realized I wasn't sharing again. So was that Shruti again who said that it's not easy?
Yes.
Okay. So here's an assertion that I'm making to you guys right now. The job search process is actually simple if you know what you're doing. Hence, you're looking for guidance for people like me who've kind of like been out there, been in the same shoes, applying for jobs. And here's a little secret for you guys. I don't know if it's okay for me or not. I'll ask permission from BJ eventually, but BJ has actually been somebody that I've been in touch with since July of 2020. So IIT's, Illinois Tech's Senior Career Services Director, I've been in touch with for since July of 2020. So that's almost 2 years. So the tactics that I'm sharing with you guys here right now worked in my outreach to BJ, who was a stranger to me originally. So are you seeing the parallelism of me reaching out to a stranger, i.e. BJ, and you guys reaching out to a stranger, some person, male or female, that you saw at the career fair? So the techniques that I'm sharing with you guys is something that I apply, that I've applied repeatedly, and that I assert that if you guys apply it, your job search is going to be much, much easier. The concept is simple, but the application may not necessarily be easy. And I would say that it's even harder if you don't know the premises that I'm talking about right now. Questions or comments? I'm going to speed it up a little, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers, because this is really like just a teaser for the micro course, which I'm going to be delivering via that LinkedIn group that you have. So what you're seeing in front of you right now is the legacy way of applying for jobs. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So thank you. There are 3 sections usually that any job search, or the way people do it, fall into. Number 1, you find a job ad or a method to apply, or you found it through Handshake, or one of the information that we share at Illinois Tech, right? It's either you do that through the school or you do it on your own, just going directly on the internet. So number 1 is fairly straightforward, and that's how everybody approaches the job search. You find the job ad or the job opening, you kind of like take a look at it, see what they're saying is the method to apply, and then you apply, right? Step number 2, you apply for the job after you found the job ad, whether it came from career services or you did it on your own, and then you wait for them to reach back out to you saying, hey, we want to call you in for an interview. Alexander, we love your resume. We're calling you in for an interview. Okay. And then the next part of the program, which most everybody does, is that when you do get invited to an interview, you go back in, or you send an email, or you send snail mail, a card, you get creative, and you thank them, and you kind of like follow up with a phone call, and then it's usually dead after that. So this is what I like to call the old method, and that's why I called it legacy, of applying for a job. And one of the qualities of this particular approach is it's kind of relatively not proactive. Do people know why I said that? I'd like to hear folks in the room from the legacy standpoint, and from the people who I have here on the call right now. Where would you say you can improve from the legacy? Where do you think you guys are getting stuck, or what you think is your weakest point that you want to improve? That's why you're like attending a course or an info session like this today.
I think in my case, it'd probably be just beefing up my resume, because right now I'm an Eagle Scout and I'm doing very well in school, but because this is my freshman year and I already skipped a year and I had a lot of credits coming in, I've mainly been focusing on my academics, and I've done very well. But at the same time, I think it's high time I start finding extracurriculars and start creating projects that I could work on, so that companies would be interested in what I have to offer to the table.
That's awesome, Pranav. You said you're a new student as well. You're just starting, and here you are listening to information like this, which is usually even seniors don't listen to.
I mean, like, yeah, I finished my first year, but I'm classified as a 4th-year undergraduate somehow.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. So from the standpoint of creating the resume and all that. All right. Thanks, Pranav. Other shares? Where are you usually getting stuck with the legacy way of applying for jobs?
I want to comment on something that I've noticed recently when I'm applying for jobs. Um, I'm a junior right now, and I always have difficulty in terms of like when to apply is appropriate. Because you have the due date and you have your school, and you know the school throws you academics, your extracurriculars, and then you're trying and within all this chaos to have this time to connect, to network, and to send your job applications for summer or whatnot, and then you realize that like, oh, I had two midterms, I finally have time to do it now, and it's it's April, the job starts in May, and you start applying, and you email a bunch of companies, and you're kind of confused which one to use. Like, do you go to the company website? Do you use LinkedIn job search? Do you use all the other tons of websites that you can search up the job itself, but at the same time, you're trying to look for the jobs that you are genuinely interested in, like you feel that the experience you will get from the job will apply to your degree, correct? Because like
Yes.
you can like there are tons of job openings everywhere. You can go to any like I have like Obruk Center gallery near me, and like every shop has hiring now. So the difficulty I've noticed is like it's not difficult to find a job anywhere. Like it's gonna always be there. The difficulty is to find the specificity of the job search you're looking for, but at the same time, when you find the thing you really love, then you realize, oh, they want experience that I don't have yet. So now you
Okay.
go back to the rabbit hole of like, oh, which job actually says no previous experience needed that I can acquire it from.
Yeah. So you actually covered, Alexander. Thank you for that share. So you actually went through the whole gamut of the job search experience. To your point that you can pretty much get any job that you need right now because everybody's hiring, but you wanted something that kind of like applies to you and that could like forward your career. So it's just not any job, but it's a job that's actually planned, so to speak, so that when you're looking at your career in general, that job makes sense for you to take versus it was a placeholder to just give you a paycheck. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct.
Beautiful. And I acknowledge you actually coming to a course like this because you get to learn all these strategies that I want to talk about that could kind of like address where you're at. So beautiful. Thank you for that share. So let's go. I realize I have 20 minutes before we are kind of like so this slide was going to do some more discussion with you guys, but the whole point that I was trying to make is that when you're applying for a job, more than one person is usually applying for a job, and you want to be like that red tulip so that you're standing out to the hiring manager or hiring manager saying, yes, Alexander is the person that we want for the job because based on the information that Alexander presented, based on the interview, based on everything about Alexander, Alexander is standing up like the red tulip. So the objective of today is number one, it's an information session, but the objective of Career Fair Optimized is actually to introduce you students and me teaching you how to apply business strategies to transcend the usual, the legacy stuff. That's why I brought legacy earlier, because people just know about the resume, application, network, creating business relationships. You go to the interview and then you follow up. So what I'm about to teach you right now talks about business strategies. And with that said, let me talk some more about me. Going over my LinkedIn profile accomplishes two things. Number one, it kind of like shows you where I optimized myself so that I am quote unquote more attractive to who is looking for me. When I created the LinkedIn page that you're seeing on screen right now, you're seeing my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I was actually reaching out to new graduates or even students earlier than that, because the time to really be looking for a job is when you're not looking, because that allows you the best, decisions that could be made. Otherwise, if you're a senior and then you have to move out of your parents' house or whatever, there's a time frame. So what I want you guys to do is study everything that I have in my LinkedIn profile. Okay, is number one. That's one of the reasons I bring it up. Notice how I'm maximizing, the picture, how I created a cover page, how I created my name and kind of like added some stuff. I could have just put Bernie Floresca, right? But I created some other stuff. And then if you notice my headline, I was trying to be attractive to my target audience. My target audience for this specific LinkedIn profile, or this iteration of it, was graduating students. So notice how everything is tailored to the graduating student. Okay. The reason I brought this up was I wanted to speak a little bit more about my experience. Graduate to hired consulting came about because I was working for doing business development in marketing operations from September 2018. What we were doing was we were looking for clients, and this was way before COVID. We were doing this all on LinkedIn. We were finding clients for coaches and consultants who had packages anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. And what my job was to do reaching out to somebody I didn't know, cold, but based on my research, I was it's kind of like fishing, putting hooks out there to my target audience so that I can have a conversation. So let's do a parallel of that. I was looking for clients for my client. You guys are looking for a job with a hiring manager. So do you guys see the parallel of what I was doing and what I'm sharing with you guys? That's why I said the objective was to share business strategies, because these are tactics that actually work in the business world. Definitely not legacy stuff. This actually works in the business world. So the reason this came about was in June of 2020, my niece, who was a junior at the time, said she was looking for an internship. And then I had a major light bulb moment in that I was like, hang on a second. Why can't we teach these business strategies that I'm using to students so that they can find jobs much, much faster? So I was doing that since September 2018. Graduate to hired, the program that I created, it was a student workshop. It was my brainchild. It was going to be very interactive, but everything that I'm showing you right now, the business relationships, showing you my LinkedIn, showing how to reach out to people, is actually what's part of this 5-day micro course that I originally designed on a platform that was supposed to be SMS based. So the reason I brought that up is, I mean, you guys could be going, well, what is this guy's qualifications? And that he's teaching business strategies to us students. Well, that is why I'm sharing this with you guys. So introduce and teach students to apply the business strategies that I was using in real business. So the question is, how? Okay. So this was on a platform called Arist. The platform that I selected was what I thought was perfect for Gen Z, the Gen Z audience, because everybody's on their cell phone and people have short attention spans, in this age of TikTok where, you consume information for just like quick information. I was like, why can't I deliver this workshop on a platform wherein you could consume the information, but it's still valid information that you guys could use? So this is what it looked like. And I may send it out to these people who are actually on this call as because I have a limited number of seats for people to experience this as a video course versus what I proposed in that email that was sent to you guys. Because without this Arist platform, obviously the information is still valid, but since I don't have the platform to kind of like reach out to more Illinois Tech students, and by the way, this is kind of like exclusive to Illinois Tech right now. Nobody else has kind of like touched this outside of Illinois Tech. So you guys are kind of like on the cutting edge of this information. So just to let you know, this is the text, and this is what it looks like on a cell phone of how this is delivered. I may kind of like go back to the recording and see who I can send out the link to what you're seeing, but this is all delivered through the mobile phone. But because the platform Eris is kind of like going away for individuals like myself. Um, I said this information is still valid, but I'm going to deliver it in a group format. So we're going to do that. So let's see. In the 5-day workshop, you're going to learn how to stand out efficiently, transcending what we already said. And I just happen to use career fairs as a backdrop. We already discussed that. The other part that you're going to learn is how to create and nurture business relations, just how I created that business relationship with BJ, who was a director that I didn't know beforehand. It was a cold outreach, and I created and nurtured that relationship. And actually, the reason I'm talking to you guys in front of Illinois Tech students right now is because of that business relationship. So think about it for a second. If that business relationship caused me to have this presentation in front of you guys, would you think that these business strategies could work to your advantage when you're looking for a job? We're kind of like running out of time, so I'm going to cut the discussion short. This is just a synopsis of what you're going to be learning within those 5 days. Day 1 is going to be the intro. Day 2 is really what you're seeing on the screen as the section that says target, then research. Number 2 says connect to relate, of which I have in the following slide. So just to give you a tester to Alexander's point earlier, he was saying there's a myriad of jobs that I can get out there. When you go from quality versus quantity, most legacy people who approach the job search from the legacy standpoint do it from the quantity standpoint. I propose that people are more deliberate and you actually target specific companies that you want to work for. Okay, that's what you're going to learn in this particular lesson. The second lesson is about strategy. You're connecting to relating. Okay, you connect to these folks to relate. So let's just say I saw somebody at a career fair. I didn't have time to talk to that person at the career fair, but I got their business card. Well, guess what? They have a LinkedIn profile. I can connect to relate. And we can say something to the effect that I spoke to you at the career fair, blah, blah, blah. And then you start creating that business relationship via messaging, if you will. When I talk about tools, this is your resume, this is your LinkedIn profile, this is like all sorts of portfolios if you were in marketing or you were some sort of student. So all of the intel from steps 1, 2, and 3 actually feed into this, and we're constantly doing an update loop. So notice how I said for you guys earlier, this iteration that you're seeing for my LinkedIn profile is not the first. I've been constantly modifying this based on who my target audience. So I propose that you guys are constantly modifying this as well for the hiring managers that you're trying to appeal to. I realize I'm going faster, but I kind of wanted to leave a few minutes in between this, because otherwise you're just going to find out my course material. So when you create that relationship is, what do you say? I heard you guys talk about that earlier. How do you continue that relationship? I teach you some of those business strategies so that you're relating to them. Why is it that I was top of mind to BJ since July of 2020 when I first met him? I did a combination of emails. I did a combination of LinkedIn posts, you know, all that stuff as part of these strategies. So I think that was kind of like a tester. Here's my contact information for this right now. If you go to berniefloresca.com, which is my LinkedIn profile. Otherwise, you can send me email to this, but stay tuned to like additional announcement that you'll be hearing soon. But I realized that that was kind of done shortly. For the last 10 minutes, I want to cover your questions. If it's going to be covered in the material, which is the actual course that I'll be delivering in the group. So instead of it being delivered via mobile as text right now, I'm just going to pick one day. I'm going to do day 1, post it in the group. The following day, I'm going to do day 2 that was designed for the mobile as a text. I'm going to post it in the group. And then the other thing that I wanted to happen in the group is if you had questions, I wanted you to post your questions in the group because we're going to make this a group experience. As I'm answering Alexander's questions, or as I'm answering Pranav's questions, or as I'm answering Shruti's questions, everybody's kind of like seeing the question and everybody's learning together. And that might spur you to have yet another question on top of that. So that's why it's kind of like a learning experience. So that said, I am leaving the last few minutes for questions. Kota? You went unmute? Was that something you were about to say something?
Ano,
I guess I can start with question. I found about this the Zoom meeting just like literally like hour ago, just scrolling
Yeah.
through my unread emails. What at what point does the course start? Like what
I
day
am
does it
going to
start?
I'm going to put day one directly after this
Okay.
call. So very good question, Alexander. So step number one, I want you to join the LinkedIn group because that's where all the work is going to happen. It's not a mobile-based course anymore because I don't have that Arist platform that I showed you earlier. So I'm delivering the material in the group. So it's kind of like an online class, if you will, and our classroom is the LinkedIn group.
Okay.
Make sense?
And that's the Illinois Tech Career Services
Yes.
the
If
link
you
that you
scroll up in the
sent.
chat, yeah, actually, I could send it again if you wish. Other questions? Thanks for that, Alexander.
So just wondering. So at the time you were saying it, I didn't set up my LinkedIn account yet, but I just did. So I'm following Illinois Tech Career Services, but does that mean like I officially joined it?
No.
It?
You have to click on that specific link because there's two Illinois, there's various accounts actually. The university has the account, and then I know Emily runs the Illinois Tech Career Services. The one that I just shared very specifically, that I just shared in chat right now, is what you want to click on because that's a unique link to this group that I created specifically for this class. Moving forward, it's going to have all sorts of career services information. But for our purposes right now, it's our classroom for this micro course. Very good question, Pranav.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Just a comment to those that like are confused, like that if you click the link that was just posted, you go to the Illinois Tech Career Services one, it says only 12 members, while the official Illinois Tech Career Services has like more than 500 plus
good point.
connections. That's a different one.
Very good point. Say that again for the people on recording, Alexander. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what Alexander was saying, if you know that you got the wrong group because this group for the class is only a few members. It's only 12 right now. But if you clicked on the wrong one, it obviously has more than 12. So to review what we're doing, the coursework that I created for mobile, I'm just going to quote unquote dump it. But I'm obviously going to go through it so that it's user friendly to you guys. So you can still do the learning because it still has links to the videos. It has links to the questions and the way that I want you to interact. Because usually if it asks a question, you say yes or no on your mobile phone. But for our purposes, since we don't have that ability like a mobile phone, I want you to cut the question, put it in the subject within the group, and then kind of like give us your answer. Then that would kind of like be the interaction between you guys and myself. I'm going to be going through everything that you post in that group. If it's either a question or a comment, that sort of stuff, and let's learn with each other. Last 5 minutes for questions.
If I were to send questions, are you more comfortable with me sending them through your LinkedIn or through your email?
I would prefer, if it's nothing that's kind of like personal information that you don't want everybody to learn. The whole idea of me doing it as a group workshop is somebody may have the same exact question as you, Alexander, But if we already posted it and answered it, or if somebody came later and has the same exact question, I just send them a link to your question. So it makes it much, much more efficient. Did I answer your
Gotcha.
question?
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. But by all means, feel free to send me email if you had to. That was kind of like outside of this. You know, if it was something that was more specific to you or was personal that you didn't want to share, because that's obviously going to be our classroom, like I said. And the whole idea is we're all learning together.
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, Diana.
Okay, good that you heard me. I wasn't sure. I'm not the smartest with this
No,
technology.
we're good. We're good. We're
Eh,
good.
So I just click on the link and they will take me to the course. That's what it is?
No, no, no. It takes you to a LinkedIn group. The LinkedIn
Okay.
group happens to be the classroom for the course.
Okay, so do I have to sign up there or just with you
No,
with
you
this link?
request to join it.
Ah, okay.
So when you're in the group, you kind of like see everything.
Mhm.
So everybody's asking questions. I'm going to be posting the course material because remember,
There.
this was
Mhm.
originally designed for a mobile course, but I don't have the platform anymore. So I was
Yes.
like, I don't want to waste that information. So I'm creating a classroom,
Oh, okay.
which is the LinkedIn group.
Mhm.
So I'm delivering both the material and everybody can post their questions. So everybody can learn from everybody's
Okay.
reactions, comments, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Very good question, Diana. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
These are really good. Last 2 minutes.
Just want to reiterate that we, I think, discussed is you will be putting up content on the LinkedIn group
Mhm.
and we'll have access to that. And if we have any questions, we can post it there. And pretty much, I think everybody will have access to the content and the questions that each of us will be posting.
Yeah, because it's a public group. It's kind of like
Oh,
we're going into a room, so everybody sees what's in the room.
okay, got it. And
Good
it's a
question.
5-day thing?
Well, it was originally designed as 5 days, so I have 5 days of materials
Okay.
based on. I'm going to play this by ear because when I was on the platform, they controlled everything. Since I'm controlling everything right now, if I'm not seeing responses to day 1, maybe I might hold off for day 2 or whatever, or maybe we had good discussion on day 1, and I'm just kind of like just answering all those questions. So I'm going to play that by ear. But no, thanks for asking that question, Shruti. There's 5 days of content.
Mhm. Thank you.
Very good. If there were no other questions, I want to thank you again for your time
I got
in
one
joining
more. I'm
this.
sorry.
Yeah, Alexander.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just
No,
have
go
one
ahead,
more.
man.
Are there gonna be future Zoom meetings connected to the 5-day course, or are you just gonna post the course on LinkedIn without Zoom calls?
Very good point. If I'm noticing that a Zoom would be in the best interest of what's going on in the room, I am now reserving the right to create another Zoom and invite you guys to it.
All right, thank you.
Additionally, I just had one more question. Where is this recording for this going to be posted?
I have it recorded on my my account right now. I'm going to be posting it in the group as well. So
All right, thank you very much.
I love how you're asking all these questions. I'm noticing a pattern. So anything that has to do with this course right now, once people, number one, you access it by requesting to be part of the group, and then everything's going to be in the group. Make sense? So thank you for
Thank you very much.
asking that question, Pranav. The recording will be in the group as well. So it's 1 o'clock on the dot. Thank you again for your guys' time. And I'm going to be expecting you guys to be networking with me. Some students already actually reached out. And while I was preparing for this course earlier, I was reaching out. Let's make it a practice to use LinkedIn because it's going to serve you guys moving forward. And if you go back to the email that was shared, I want you to read through what I said was going to happen. There was an extra credit at the end that I said. And I'm not going to say it right now. I want you guys to go back to that email, read it, and I want you to think about what I just said because you'll be glad that you're getting this information. All right. Thank you again for you guys listening this afternoon, and we will see you in the group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. Have a good
day.
afternoon.
Bye-bye.